Revenue Service, and government communications. Now, state capture had a direct and very concrete negative impact on the lives of all South Africans, but especially the poorest and most vulnerable members of our society. It has weakened the ability of the state to deliver services and to meet the expectations and constitutional rights of our people. We must now do everything in our power to ensure that it never happens again. My responsibility is to ensure that the Commission report is properly and carefully considered and then acted upon. Now, by no later than June, I will present the plan of action in response to the Commission's recommendations. And I'll present it to you sitting right here. We will, as the Commission's first report recommends, strengthen the system to protect whistleblowers who are a vital safeguard in the fight against corruption and who take huge personal risk in reporting wrongdoing. We are doing a detailed review of all applicable legislation and a comparative study of other jurisdictions to strengthen whistleblower protection. The relevant law enforcement agencies are taking the necessary steps to address the immediate concern about the safety of whistleblowers. Now, many individuals and companies that the Commission has found were responsible for state capture must now be held accountable. I have every confidence that the National Prosecuting Authority will carry out the further investigations that the Commission has recommended, and that it will bring the members of the criminal network that infiltrated government and captured the state swiftly to justice. Now, the investigating directorate in the NPA is now poised to deliver on its crucial mandate, and a dedicated team has been established to pursue these cases. We will be appointing a new head of the investigating directorate following the departure of its head from that position. An amendment to the State Capture Commission regulations in June in 2020 empowered the sharing of information between the Commission and the law enforcement agencies. This amendment also permitted the employment of the State Capture Commission personnel by law enforcement agencies. Now, these empowering provisions have geared the investigating directorate to more effectively pursue the investigations emanating from the Commission. We have gratefully acknowledged the offer of support from the private sector to assist in providing those skills which we lack in government to enable investigation and prosecution of crime. To ensure that the prosecuting authority remains true to its constitutional obligation and mandate, and to ensure transparency, we are developing a framework for private sector cooperation that will be managed through the National Treasury. There are also discussions underway with the judiciary for the creation of special court roles for state capture and corruption cases. While we have taken decisive steps to end the era of state capture, we know that the fight against corruption is far from over. Even as the country was suffering from the devastation of COVID-19 pandemic, companies and individuals were conspiring with public officials to defraud government of billions of rands in COVID-19 related contracts. As soon as evidence emerged of this corruption, we acted. We withdrew certain emergency procurement regulations, set up a fusion center that brought together law enforcement agencies. We published the details of COVID-related contracts online and instituted the most extensive investigation that the Special Investigating Unit has ever undertaken since its formation. In December, the SIU submitted its final report on its investigation into COVID-related contracts. As a result, 45 matters with a combined value of 2.1 billion have been enrolled with the special tribunal. The SIU has referred 224 government officials for disciplinary action and has referred 386 cases for possible prosecution by the NPA. Now, we have set up, as the presidency, a monitoring mechanism of implementation on the recommendations of the SIU and to ensure that government departments and entities do act against those who have violated regulations and broken the law. The fight against corruption will take on a new intensity thanks to the outcome of the State Capture Commission, the strengthening of law enforcement agencies, and the implementation of new anti-corruption practices in the public service. State-owned enterprises play a vital role in our economy, from water and roads to energy and ports to defense and aviation. These strategic assets of our nation are necessary to keep our country running. It is essential that we reverse their decline and reposition them to contribute positively. We have therefore embarked on several immediate measures to restore these companies to health at the same time as we undertake far-reaching reforms that will make our SOEs more efficient, competitive, accountable, and sustainable. The Presidential SOE Council, which I appointed in 2020, has recommended that government adopt a centralized shareholding model for its key commercial state-owned companies. This would separate the state's ownership functions from its policy-making and regulatory functions, and to minimize the scope for political interference, introduce greater professionalism, and manage state assets in a way that protects shareholder value. Now, as part of this, preparatory work has begun for the establishment of a state-owned holding company to house strategic SOEs and to exercise coordinated shareholder oversight. To ensure that state-owned enterprises are effectively fulfilling their responsibility, the Council is preparing recommendations on state-owned enterprises to be retained, on which should be retained and which should be consolidated, and which do not serve the purpose of the public should be disposed of. Any recommendations would be subjected to extensive consultation with all stakeholders. We are taking steps to safeguard our democracy, to protect our economic infrastructure, and to build safer communities for all. Earlier this week, we released a report on the expert panel that I appointed into the civil unrest in July last year. The report paints a deeply disturbing picture of the capabilities of our security services and the structures that exist to coordinate their work. The report concludes that government's initial handling of the July 2021 events was inept, Police operational planning was poor. There was poor coordination between the state security and intelligence services, and police are not always embedded in the communities that they serve. Now, the expert panel said that if violence has exposed anything, it was the poverty and inequality that is the root cause of the desperation of our people. The panel found that Cabinet must take overall responsibility for the events of July 2021. Now, this is a responsibility that we acknowledge and we also accept. We will, as recommended by the panel, develop and drive a national response to address the weaknesses that the panel identified. We will begin immediately by filling critical vacancies and addressing positions affected by suspensions in the State Security Agency and in crime intelligence. We will soon be announcing leadership changes in a number of security agencies to strengthen our security structures. Now, the staffing of the Public Order Policing Unit of the South African Police Service will be brought to an appropriate level with appropriate training in place as well. The ongoing damage to and theft of economic infrastructure has damaged confidence and severely constrained economic growth, investment, and job creation. At the same time, we need to confront the criminal gangs that invade construction sites and other business places to extort money from companies. This will require a focused and coordinated response. Government is therefore going to move ahead, and we've established specialized multidisciplinary units to address economic sabotage, extortion at construction sites, and vandalization of infrastructure. We will make resources available. We are going to make resources available to recruit and train an additional 12,000 new police personnel to ensure that the South African Police Service increases its capacity. Another area of immediate attention will be the re-establishment of community policing forums to improve relations and coordination between local police and residents of the areas they serve. It is clear from the observation of the expert panel that we need to take a more inclusive approach to assessing the threats to our country's security and determining the necessary responses. I'm calling on all South Africans through their various formations to participate as we go ahead to develop this whole process of a strategy. I will be approaching Parliament's presiding officers to request that Parliament plays a key role in facilitating inclusive process of consultation. The security services have been tasked by the National Security Council to urgently develop implementation plans that address the range of recommendations that have been put forward. Now, these measures will go a long way to address the serious concerns about the breakdown of law and order in society. This year, we are intensifying the fight against gender-based violence and femicide through the implementation of a strategic plan, and also taking other measures to promote the empowerment of women. Earlier this month, I signed into law the 3 pieces of legislation which you passed, which has strengthened the criminal justice system, that also promotes accountability across the state and also supporting survivors. Now, the implementation of this legislation will definitely go a long way to ensuring that cases are successfully prosecuted, that survivors of gender-based violence are protected, and that there are more effective effective deterrents in place. We have made significant progress in reducing the DNA backlog processing, reducing it from 210,000 exhibits to some 58,000 at present. However, the fight against gender-based violence will never be won unless, as a society, we mobilize all formations and all citizens behind a sustained program of social action. As the COVID-19 pandemic has starkly demonstrated, a nation's health is directly linked with economic progress and social development. We will continue with the work underway to ensure universal health coverage for everyone in South Africa, regardless of their ability to pay for medical services or not. While public hearings on the NHI bill are continuing in Parliament, much progress is being made in preparing for the introduction of the NHI. More than 59 million people are registered on the Health Patient Registration System. By September 2021, more than 56,000 additional health workers had been recruited and more than 46,000 community health workers integrated into the public health system. For the last 2 years, the education of our children and young people has been severely disrupted. As we return to normal educational activity, we will work harder to ensure that all learners and students get the quality education that they need and deserve. Government must work for the people. That is why our foremost priority is to build a capable, ethical, and developmental state. We will soon be finalizing a framework for the professionalization of the public service. This will include tighter measures for recruitment of public servants, continuous professional development through the National School of Government, and partnerships between state bodies, professional associations, and universities. We will continue with various processes to ensure that we strengthen the public service. And in this regard, we will ensure that the public service, who are going to be holding their important strategic conference later, is able to address the challenges that our people face. This year, we will continue with the implementation of the district development model. This model brings all 3 spheres of government together with other social partners in every district to grow inclusive local economies and to improve the lives of our citizens. In particular, the DDM, as we call it, facilitates integrated planning and budgeting across spheres of government and improves integration of national projects at district and local level. While there are many parts of the state that require much work, there are institutions that continue to serve the people of this country effectively and efficiently. One such institution is the South African Revenue Service, which will be turning 25 years this year. While SARS was badly damaged by state capture, and it has made remarkable progress in restoring its integrity, its credibility, and its performance. Since its formation, SARS has collected some 16 trillion rand for the country's social and economic development. This revenue has enabled government to improve the lives of millions of South Africans through the provision of healthcare, education, social grants, and other basic services. A capable state is not only about the quality of public servants, but it is also about the efficiency of its institutions. It is also fundamentally about how citizens are empowered to participate. We must work together to ensure that platforms like school governing bodies, community policing forums are more active and more inclusive. A vibrant civil society operating at all levels, but more especially at local level and local government level, which we intend to strengthen, is crucial for a capable state and for development. We will therefore be working with our social partners to convene the long-awaited Social Sector Summit, and this summit will seek to improve the interface between the state and civil society and address the challenges that NGOs and community-based organizations face. Our country has suffered damaging blows in recent times. A confluence of forces, many of them from outside of our control, has brought us to where we are now. We face steep and daunting challenges. Indeed, we are engaged in a battle for the soul of this country, but there can be no doubt that we will succeed. We will emerge victorious in all these challenges that we face. We will never be defeated. And you know why? Because the spirit of resilience is deeply embedded in our DNA as South Africans. So I ask every South African to rally together, whether we agree with each other on certain issues or not, but there is a lot that binds us together. I ask all of us to rally together, to fight against corruption, to also be involved collectively in our fight to create jobs, in our fight to achieve a more just and equal society. We have faced many crises in our past, and we have always overcome them. We have been confronted with difficult choices, and we have made those choices. In trying times, we have shown courage and resilience. Time and time again, we have pulled ourselves back from the brink of disaster and inspired hope, renewal, and progress. And we must do so again, now as we face these many challenges. I call upon all of us to forge this new consensus. And this consensus should not only be privy to government, business, labor, and communities. It should also be a consensus in which all of us join in. so that we can confront a new reality, a consensus that unites us behind our shared determination to reform our economy and to rebuild our institution. If there ever was a time when we should work together, this is the time for us to work together. So let us go ahead and work together instead of some of us tearing this country apart. Instead of some of us tearing our democracy apart. This is the time for us to work together and let us together build our country. But more importantly for me, this is the time, with all the economic measures that we've announced, as well as the other social protection measures that we've put forward, this is the time to leave no one behind. We must all move together as one, as South Africans. I thank you.